The United States of America has consistently been one of the most powerful, influential, innovative, creative, and until recently free and democratic nations in the world. However, many Americans are commonly associated with certain stereotypes. Examining these stereotypes, regardless of truth, can help reveal deeper meaning associated with certain aspects of American culture and society.
Probably one of the most common stereotypes about Americans is of us being unhealthy or overweight. Unfortunately, this is very true. America has one of the most high obesity rates in the world, and many Americans are unhealthy. This is an issue with many factors. Fast food and the whole industry surrounding it mainly originated in America before spreading to almost every corner of the world. Another factor is the fact that in the public education system, physical fitness has almost no emphasis, is underfunded, and in many cases is even optional. In America, fast food is very cheap compared to many other foods. And so among the poor, it's a lot easier to just go to McDonald's to grab a meal than it is to cook yourself a meal or go to a grocery store and buy natural products and eat something healthier, leading to an obesity crisis. Other common stereotypes about America is consumerism and the idea that big equals better. The idea that big is better is certainly an American idea, with things like skyscrapers, football stadiums, and even in some cases things like mega churches. There's an idea that if something is grand, then it's immediately better to Americans. Consumerism is also an American phenomena that spread to every corner of the world. It had its first signs throughout the 20s, but it wasn't until the end of World War II, and especially in the 80s, that it truly took off. And today, consumerism is very rampant, especially among foreign countries, with American goods being widely desired. Another of the most common stereotypes about Americans is that Americans are ignorant. America commonly scores very high on ignorance index tests, although the accuracy of things like that are dubious. Americans believe that anything American is right, or anything American is better. And because of that, they are also not only ignorant, but very arrogant. And there's a stereotype, especially among tourists, that American tourists are very disrespectful. That is something that I think America has been working hard to sort of rectify, and that they've been trying to teach, especially the younger generations, more about the world and more about respecting other cultures and foreign people. But I would say that it's certainly true and it is an issue, although it's going away. A common stereotype about Americans is that we are very patriotic. This is another thing that is certainly true. If you come to America, you'll see that on pretty much every block in neighborhoods and cities, outside of businesses, there are huge American flags flying. And with holidays like the 4th of July and Veterans Day, this sort of patriotism is glorified. And in many cases, this ties into the idea of American consumerism, where things like flags and fireworks are sold en masse during holidays like the 4th of July. This is an attitude that I think the government has done a lot to propagate, especially in a country like America that is as diverse. There needs to be a strong idea that holds all of these people with different cultures and identities together. And because of that, this patriotic attitude is encouraged by the government, especially with America's almost constant involvement in war. Another common stereotype about America that is unfortunately true is the idea that America is very racist. America is a country that has a genuine history of police brutality and institutional racism. Black Americans were enslaved for over 100 years, and even after being freed, they suffered intense discrimination under things like Jim Crow laws and segregation. Although the civil rights movement of the 50s and 60s sought to solve these issues, it never truly solved them. And today there is still a great degree of racism, although it is not quite as severe. Police brutality is a major issue, especially towards Black Americans, and today we can see with the very recent George Floyd protests the culmination of this issue and hopefully its resolution. Another stereotype about America, or in my opinion a misconception, is that of the American dream and the idea that all Americans are rich. The American dream was heavily propagandized in the past century, although many have woken up and realized that it has declined heavily and probably will never return. Due to economic and demographic changes, the sort of comfortable middle-class lifestyle that was glorified will be very hard to achieve in the future unless radical changes are made to the existing economic and political system. Americans may seem to be very rich because of the fact that American houses are very large compared to in other countries. The real reason for this is just the fact that America has a ton of land, and with huge infrastructure projects, houses like these were built in the 50s.